Superstar couple Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta Jones are spending some time apart, but they are reportedly taking a break after going through some pretty tough times.
Celebrity marriages rarely withstand the test of time. Yet Catherine Zeta Jones and Michael Douglas are approaching their 25th wedding anniversary on November 18, 2023, having married at New York's Plaza Hotel in 2000. Despite their enduring relationship, the couple has weathered significant personal storms together. So why is Catherine Zeta Jones's life at 55 being called beyond heartbreaking? What happened to the woman who once had it all? And how did the pressures of fame, family, and fate combine to leave scars that no spotlight could ever hide? Sit tight, because what you're about to discover will change everything. At 55, the tragedy of Catherine Zeta Jones is beyond heartbreaking. Behind all the lights, cameras, and polished appearances that the world often sees on red carpets, Catherine Zeta Jones and Michael Douglas were quietly walking through one of the darkest valleys of their lives in September 2010. That was when Michael received the devastating news that he had throat cancer, a diagnosis that would change not only his life, but also Catherine's in ways neither of them had expected. He admitted at the time that it was a fight that drained his strength and pushed him to his limits.
It's probably an intermediate stage cancer, not early stage, which is usually treated with surgery or radiation alone, or advanced stage, which is treated with surgery plus chemoradiation. But if he's getting just chemoradiation for about 2 months.
The treatments were harsh, filled with radiation and chemotherapy sessions that left him exhausted. Catherine stood right by him, never leaving his side, yet deep down she confessed she was falling apart. She later revealed openly that she was a complete mess, and one could only imagine how difficult it must have been for her to watch the man she loved suffer and feel powerless to make it stop. After all, how does anyone remain calm while watching a loved one go through something so painful? Behind the red carpet smiles, Catherine Zeta Jones has been living with a tragedy that most people don't know about. At 55, it's beyond heartbreaking, and you'll want to see why. What made the ordeal even harder for Catherine was the delay in Michael's diagnosis. She admitted with anger that she was furious because it had taken far too long for doctors to realize what was wrong with him, even though he had complained of constant pain in his throat and ear for months. She explained that the hardest part for her was watching his unusual fatigue, because Michael was someone who was never known to be tired. And yet, despite the slow diagnosis, despite the draining treatments, Michael somehow held on to hope. He said with determination that he would beat it. Remarkably, he did. By January 2011, he joyfully announced that he was cancer-free. That moment must have felt like a sigh of relief, not just for him, but for Catherine and the entire family who had carried the weight of that battle. However, the end of Michael's illness did not mean the end of their struggles. Soon after, Catherine faced her own health crisis. In April 2011, not long after celebrating Michael's recovery, she checked herself into a mental health facility. The reason was her struggle with bipolar II disorder, a condition that often comes with deep depressive episodes and stretches of low energy, along with less intense highs known as hypomania. Her spokesperson explained that she had been under immense stress for the past year and needed time to rest and take care of her mental well-being. It is often said that stress can push people to their breaking point, and in Catherine's case, the strain of caring for her husband while watching him battle cancer had left its mark. For many people who admired her from afar, it was a reminder that even someone who seemed to have everything – beauty, talent, success, and wealth – was still human, still vulnerable to the emotional toll of life's hardships. As though fate had not tested them enough, their marriage itself began to feel the weight of all they had endured. In August 2013, news broke that they were taking a break. a polite way of saying their relationship had reached a point where the strain was too heavy to ignore. Some of the tension reportedly came from Michael's public comments about his illness, which stirred controversy and made things even more difficult for Catherine. People often ask if love can really survive the harshest storms, and in that moment, many wondered if this was the end of one of Hollywood's most admired couples. But sometimes, separation is not the end. It can be a pause, a time to breathe, and a space to decide whether to hold on or let go. And as Catherine found herself not only balancing the demands of fame, but also the relentless spotlight on her most private battles, the story shifted. She was no longer just a star adored on screen. She was a woman under scrutiny, with every move dissected, every crack magnified. This is where her journey takes a turn, from stardom to scrutiny, and what happened next would prove that sometimes the brightest lights cast the harshest shadows. From stardom to scrutiny. Catherine Zeta Jones's story is one of those rare journeys that feels almost like a movie in itself, full of ambition, early success, setbacks, and moments where she had to stand her ground. From a very young age, people could already see something remarkable about her. At just 10 years old, she won a national talent contest by singing a Shirley Bassey song, and from then on, it was as if the stage had claimed her. By 17, she had already made her mark in the West End production of 42nd Street, which was no small feat for a teenager. But the real turning point in her early career came when she played Mariette Larkin in the British comedy drama The Darling Buds of May in the early 1990s. That role made her a household name in the UK, and people began to see her as more than just a talented performer. She was suddenly a star with charm, charisma, and a future that seemed unstoppable. Yet, isn't it interesting how fame never really tells the full story? While the public adored her, she herself felt trapped in a squeaky clean image that didn't truly reflect who she was. She admitted to the Daily Mirror in 1995 that she drank, swore, and enjoyed life in ways that didn't fit neatly into the good girl box. That honesty showed she was more complex than the media wanted to believe. Her career path was not without its bumps, and she experienced a few disappointing films like Christopher Columbus, The Discovery in 1992. But rather than chase quick money, she insisted she wanted a career that lasted, not a flash-in-the-pan moment. This determination was what eventually paid off. When Steven Spielberg saw her in the 1996 miniseries Titanic, he recommended her for The Mask of Zorro in 1998. That film, alongside Antonio Banderas, catapulted her into international stardom, and suddenly, the Hollywood doors swung wide open. From there, the successes came in steady waves. Entrapment in 1999, Traffic in 2000, and then the crowning moment with her Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in Chicago, 2002. Looking back, one might wonder, could anyone else have played those roles with the same fiery mix of elegance and strength? Probably not. Her personal life became just as talked about as her career, especially after she met Michael Douglas in 1998 at the Deauville Film Festival. Their meeting felt almost cinematic, though it began with one of the most awkward opening lines ever. Douglas reportedly told her he would be the father of her children, which understandably made her walk away at first. But he was persistent, sending flowers and an apology, and before long, their relationship deepened. They became engaged on New Year's Eve of 1999 and married in a grand ceremony at New York's Plaza Hotel in 2000. Of course, their 25-year age difference became a hot topic for the media, with skeptics claiming it wouldn't last. Yet here they are, still together, proving many of those doubts wrong. Isn't it fascinating how people are quick to predict the end of someone else's love story, only to be proven wrong over time? Being in the spotlight as a couple, however, was never easy. Their wedding even turned into a court case when Hello magazine published unauthorized photos, despite the couple having sold exclusive rights to OK magazine for £1 million. That battle dragged on for weeks and cost millions in legal fees, but Catherine and Michael ultimately won their invasion of privacy case. Even so, she was not spared from cruel labels. Being married to a wealthy, established actor meant Catherine had to endure whispers and headlines calling her a gold digger. In interviews, she admitted how much that hurt, because it ignored her own career, her own earnings, and her own talent. She reminded the world that she was not dependent on anyone else's fortune. And that kind of strength in standing up for herself showed how much grit lay behind her glamorous image. Now, after decades in the public eye, Catherine Zeta Jones looks back at her life and marriage with pride. She often speaks about how reaching their 25th anniversary feels not just surprising, but exciting. She describes their journey as one filled with learning, love, and fun. And at the center of it all are their 2 children, Dylan and Karis, whom she calls truly wonderful. And that's where the story takes a turn, because what Catherine endured behind the scenes reveals so much more about the woman she truly is. Which brings us to something we can't overlook: the cost of a demanding career. The cost of a demanding career. Catherine Zeta Jones has often found herself navigating the kind of challenges that very few people outside the entertainment industry truly understand. The life of an actor, as glamorous as it may appear from the outside, carries with it an unpredictable rhythm that disrupts almost every sense of normalcy. Unlike traditional jobs where there is a clear start and finish to each day, acting rarely offers that kind of structure. Auditions can appear without warning, sometimes with only a few hours' notice, and filming schedules can drag on for weeks or even months, often in distant corners of the world. He was once told that while most people can look forward to a weekend or a holiday with their loved ones, actors must always prepare for the possibility that their time will be claimed by a set, a director, or a script that demands their full presence. And one cannot help but wonder, how does someone balance the desire for artistic expression with the longing to simply be present in their family's everyday life? Throughout her career, Zeta Jones has lived through the restless nature of her profession, traveling from one city to another, packing and unpacking, constantly adjusting to new places and new faces. Her upcoming Amazon Prime revenge thriller only highlights this truth further. The project requires filming in Swansea, Bilbao, Lisbon, and London, starting in March 2025. This means she will once again find herself caught in the familiar cycle of boarding planes, checking into hotels, and trying to stay connected with her family from afar. He recalled how she admitted in the past that this constant traveling might seem exciting at first, but over time, it chips away at the sense of belonging that home provides. After all, what is success worth if it continually takes you away from the people you hold closest to your heart? Time away from family, especially for actor parents, becomes one of the hardest sacrifices to make. Many in the industry have spoken about the guilt that lingers in the background when the demands of work keep them from witnessing the little milestones that matter so much at home. Catherine herself has wrestled with this tug of war, knowing that while she is embodying a role on screen, she is also missing moments with her children. As one veteran actor once explained, when they were little, when they were really small, you can just take them with you. And then, once they're in school, I just didn't want to disrupt their life. Those words echo the exact challenge Catherine has faced. The realization that at some point, children need roots and stability, while the career often demands wings and motion. And really, how does one find a balance between being a constant presence in a child's life and fulfilling the demands of a profession that thrives on absence and reinvention? In interviews, Catherine has been refreshingly honest about the emotional toll of trying to do it all. She once admitted, "I allow myself to not feel the need to be some sort of Wonder Woman. You can't do everything at once and tear your hair out when you miss your baby using a potty for the first time." Those words revealed a truth that many parents, whether in Hollywood or outside of it, could relate to. The painful reality that no one can be everywhere at once, no matter how much they want to. And she is not alone in this sentiment. Will Smith once reflected on the cost of pursuing both career and family, saying, "You're either really committed to having a relationship, or you're really committed to coming up in your career. At some point, one or the other is going to have to suffer." His words show that the struggle is not unique to Catherine, but is instead a shared reality across the acting world. The reality that even in the glitter of Hollywood, sacrifice is always waiting just around the corner. And perhaps that is what makes Catherine's journey even more compelling as she stands at 55, staring at a brand new season of her life. Because if her earlier years were marked by the tug-of-war between career and family, what lies ahead promises something very different, a chance to breathe, to redefine, to rebuild. This is not just a continuation of her story, but a turning point. Life transitions at 55. A new chapter. Catherine Zeta Jones and Michael Douglas have lived a life most people could only dream of. Yet as she turns 55, the couple seems to be entering a new chapter that feels both grounding and reflective. After so many decades in the glittering spotlight of Hollywood, they are now embracing changes that speak less about fame and more about family and simplicity. Not long ago, they decided to sell their beautiful estate in Irvington for a staggering $12 million. For Catherine, the reason behind this decision was straightforward. She was quoted saying that since both their son and daughter had left the nest, it felt like the right time to let the house go. Isn't it interesting how even the most glamorous lives eventually come down to the same transitions that everyday people go through? Children growing up, homes feeling too big, and a new sense of freedom quietly setting in. These changes tie into their plans of spending more time in Europe, which feels almost like a return to Catherine's roots. At the moment, they divide their time between Bermuda and Europe, but there is a clear intention to make Spain a more permanent base, at least for half the year. Part of the reason is to be closer to their daughter, Caris, who is 21 and currently studying abroad. For any parent, it is easy to see how such a decision would make perfect sense. Michael himself has always spoken fondly of Mallorca, even saying that it was the place where he first fell in love with Catherine. With that kind of sentiment tied to a place, how could it not feel natural for them to drift back there more often? One can imagine them walking through those Spanish streets, not as Hollywood royalty, but as parents wanting to stay close to their children, while enjoying the quieter pleasures of life. On Michael's side, a quieter life is something he has already been leaning into. Since 2022, he has intentionally stepped back from acting. He openly admitted that after nearly 60 years of hard work in front of the camera, he did not want to be one of those people who dropped dead on set. That remark was striking in its honesty, wasn't it? It showed a man who has given his all to his craft, yet understands that there comes a time when you must step away. While he has not officially retired, he has confessed that he is quite happy letting Catherine continue her work while he enjoys other things. He even joked that his golf game is improving, which seems to capture the essence of this new stage of his life: relaxation, lightness, and the kind of humor that comes from having nothing left to prove. Meanwhile, Catherine herself has been reflecting on the passage of time and the nature of marriage. As they near their 25th anniversary, she has spoken with both pride and realism about the journey. Many people once doubted whether their marriage could last, especially given the 25-year age gap between them. Her response to those doubts was simple. That's just maths. With that one remark, she managed to cut through years of speculation with a touch of humor and clarity. She also spoke about the respect they have for each other, admitting that no marriage can avoid uppies and downs when two people share the same life under one roof. Isn't that a truth so many couples can relate to? No amount of fame or money can erase the daily challenges of love, yet their ability to endure seems to say a lot about how they value one another. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.